During the 12-Day War, the Israeli and U.S. regimes conducted military strikes against Iran's openly declared peaceful nuclear facilities, the first ever direct military attacks on active nuclear sites. The world looked to the UN nuclear watchdog for principle, for a condemnation of a dangerous precedent that could ignite a catastrophe. This is the same agency that has policed Iran's every centrifuge for decades and documented every nanogram of uranium. Yet when those very sites, internationally monitored and vulnerable to catastrophic radiation release, were bombed, the principle of protecting peaceful nuclear programs vanished. So we must ask, what is this crisis really about? It has never been about the fear of a weapon. It has always been about the weaponization of fear. For many years, we've been told a story of crisis, a story of looming threat, of a country hell-bent on building a nuclear bomb. The headlines are urgent, the warnings dire. But what if the story we've been told is a lie? What if this crisis is manufactured? Today we'll trace the history of Iran's nuclear program from its beginning to understand how we arrived at this moment. Iran is a full member of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. This is not a minor detail, it is the legal bedrock. Article 4 of that treaty grants every member an inalienable right to develop nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, which includes uranium enrichment. Therefore, a central question looms over this decades-long confrontation. Is this about stopping a bomb or about denying a sovereign right? The thesis we will examine is stark, that a campaign led by the U.S. and triggered by the Zionist regime has been waged to illegally strip Iran of this recognized right. This campaign has a soundtrack, a warning on a loop for over 3 decades, most prominently from the Polish Zionist Benjamin Netanyahu, that Iran is just months away from a bomb. And yet, here's the fact that unravels the fear. Despite the most intense inspection regime in the IAEA's history, they have found no evidence that Iran ever planned to build a nuclear weapon. Therefore, the Iranian program, unlike the actual uninspected nuclear arsenal of the Israeli regime, has always been under continuous IAEA monitoring and within the NPT. This exposes a long-standing Western practice, deception and intelligence fabrication. We have seen this script before. The false weapons of mass destruction claims that justified the Iraq War is but one example. Now a similar playbook is used for Iran, featuring selective and twisted intelligence as well as fake allegations. In truth, the Western narrative of a nuclear threat from Iran is a deliberate and dangerous fabrication. It attempts to paint Iran as a global pariah, not based on legitimate evidence, but to serve fixed geopolitical interests, primarily those of the regime in Tel Aviv. Thus, the equation is clear. A strategy of perpetual pressure required a perpetual villain.
Iran is now trying to develop nuclear bombs. I think the United States should be very clear in forming an international coalition, with Israel, of course.
This country holds the undeclared status of the 8th nuclear power. And now, it not only openly declares that it won't allow any other country in the region to become a nuclear power, but it's also the only country in the world that has attacked the nuclear facilities of not 1, not 2, but 3 states, just out of fear that they might develop atomic weapons. Today we'll talk about Israel.
Iran's completed the first stage. Took them many years, but they completed it, and they're 70% of the way there. Now they're well into the second stage. And by next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. In a decade, this deal will give an unreformed, unrepentant, and far richer terrorist regime the capacity to produce many nuclear bombs. In fact, an entire nuclear arsenal. That Iran has another secret facility in Tehran, a secret atomic warehouse for storing massive amounts of equipment and material from Iran's secret nuclear weapons program.
There's a Hebrew word for Israel's nuclear policy, amimut. It basically means deliberate ambiguity. Experts guess that Israel has between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads today.